Samson Schames was born into the Orthodox community of Frankfurt's ERG congregation. His family had lived in Frankfurt since the days of the Judengasse. He attended the Frankfurt Realschule for grade school and, at a young age, developed a love for the arts. He switched to a school for the arts after his bar mitzvah and was probably encouraged by his uncle, a noted art dealer, with a gallery across from Frankfurt's famed opera house. Samson painted the scenes of the quaint Frankfurt neighborhoods as well as some religious depictions. He was drafted into the German army in the First World War. He resumed his studies and created many canvas paintings during the era leading to Nazi occupation. Under the Nazis, his works could not be displayed other than in Jewish artists' museums in Berlin, and sadly, as an example of debased Jewish art in Nazi propaganda. This marks the beginning of a dark period in his life. He escapes to London after Kristallnacht. There he makes art as well, including some of the horrors he witnesses on the bombed-out streets of London. He is then interred as a German. While interred, he produces art as well, but of a different kind. He uses shards and soot, powdered milk, and nails. Now he's not depicting bucolic streets, but bombed-out shells, unnamed victims, a tear, a crown of thorns, a hand, a desperate hand. He's not only reflecting the life around him, he's unwittingly preserving the shattered pieces of wartime London. During his decade in England, he enjoyed 3 gallery showings. Learning of the death of his mother and sister, he leaves for the United States, where he marries his love, Edith. Edith and Samson make their home in the foundling German Jewish community of Forest Hills. For 2 decades, he will continue to paint, from his apartment in Queens, in a neighborhood where many German Jews have settled and made new lives. To be sure, Forest Hills is not Frankfurt, but it isn't a war either, nor is it an internment camp. Samson finds a place among these refugees as well. He enjoys several headline gallery showings and several rejections, including his design for the building of the Habonim Synagogue, his own congregation. For several years, a joint effort by the Leo Baeck Institute and the Judengasse Museum in Frankfurt worked to collect the remaining art of Samson Schames. Some of it was lost to the Nazis, and some of it was lost among the things left behind by his generation. Some of it, though, could be found in museums and among collectors and friends. These pieces were reunited in this exhibit. These pieces of art, themselves survivors, reunited, the survivors of 3 exiles in the life of one artist. On a wintry December day, in the last weeks of this exhibit, we visited the exhibit at the New York home of the Leo Baeck Institute. There, we met up with David Brown, the LBI Director of Public History, and a good friend of this channel. We also invited an artist of our times, and, like Samson Schames, a product of our community. Tobi Kahn grew up in our neighborhood, attended our elementary school, and davened with us. His family hails from Gmunden in Bavaria, and his father studied at the yeshiva in Frankfurt. He is named for his uncle, Arthur Kahn, who was an artist, medical student, and believed to be one of the first Jewish people murdered by the Nazis in 1933. This familial connection drives Tobi's dedication to creating art that promotes healing, interfaith understanding, and memorialization. Today, he's an established artist and lecturer with his own studio in Queens. Besides the many venues in which his art has been featured, he has created many unique sacred pieces of ritualia that perhaps reflect the strong connections Jews of our ilk have to the synagogue space and ritus. Because Tobi is a teacher, lecturer, and professor, viewing the exhibit together was a real experience. We were treated to a lesson in art history and influences.
But this is so much like Bomberg's whole group, and that's the same years it's a little different from, Lucian Freud and I love Kassoff but it's such a powerful work. And that's framed really well. That's beautifully done. It's an interesting show, and I really like the way there's so much wall text that's very powerful. And again, I think what's important is whoever framed this one, private collector, knew what they were doing. It changes the piece. I mean, I'll teach you something. If you were my students at university, this is what I make you do. Take your hand, put your hand over that. I want you to do that. You see it becomes a much flatter paint. I know. It becomes a totally, so he's setting up, what are you looking at? You're looking at the bicycle, figure here, the one car you're seeing here, and there's so much action taking place.
The depth of field, is that
this is Western art. So Eastern art is more like a screen. Western art is foreground, middle ground, background. The Mona Lisa with, but that looks so much like Miro. Wow, is that a Hanukkah thing? Is that Miro?
That's the Hanukkah thing.
So he must have been looking at Miro. That is so after Miro. If I had to look at that and somebody told me that was Miro, I would believe.
Very close to the end of his life.
Oh,
and I think and I think he kept working until the very end. And I think also, was not well. He writes about suffering.
So my family's from Frankfurt also, and I take that. That's what when he called me up and said, "Would I do this?" My family lived in Germany for 400 years, and if it weren't for Hitler, there's no way I would have been born in America. And I thank God I was born in America, because New York is a great place to be an artist.
During the tour, I kept asking about our shared backgrounds, and for instance, how someone from what is known to be a rigid educational institution dabbles in German expressionism, which seems to have been avant-garde. Each time I tried to push this angle, I was corrected.
I believe the German way of art, German expression, is very rigid. It's a different type of rigid. But the artists I mentioned, these guys really knew how to paint, and they really knew how to make things happen. I think you have to know all the rules before you can break any rules. So I am very influenced by Beckmann, and all the German expressionists were huge influences on me because they knew what they were doing. So, you can shortcut things if you have the knowledge. If you don't, I always tell my students, learn how to paint realistically, learn color theory, learn everything, and then you can unlearn it.
We also spoke about some of the rejection an artist can face and how some of it was on display in the form of rejection letters.
The school said, please come, and I think everyone at Pizzala was so excited that Mishka was inviting them, and at the opening he said, I'd like to see who are the people, and again, I heard this secondhand, so I don't know if it's 100% true, but I just love the story so much. Who here is from Pizzala? And they all raised their hand. He said, I want to thank you very much because you rejected me. I went to art school in London, and this is what happened to my career. So I always laugh at everyone's rejected sometimes. Yeah. It would have been fun if the piece that was rejected from MoMA was later bought by the Tate Modern or something like that. That would have made the piece amazing.
It was time to ask the all-important question. How does a good Jewish boy become an artist? And how does the community receive him? This question applied to Shamus as well as to Tobi.
So I will tell you that I was blessed beyond belief to have a grandfather like I had and a mother like I had. I went into restaurants after my career was already successful, and I heard walking in somebody saying to their friend, and my father was sitting right there, I was meeting him at a restaurant, and they said, oh my God, that's Tobi Kahn, poor Herbert Kahn, his son is an artist. And I sat down and I said to my father, did you hear what they said? And he said, well, they didn't mean it meanly. I think, Dad, I just was in a major show at the Guggenheim Museum. I'm doing really well. And he goes, well, they don't understand it. So it depends who. I remember at the age of 6, I told my mother I wanted to be an artist. I was sitting in Washington Heights on Cabrini Boulevard, and I was looking at the building across the street, and I saw the way the rain was hitting the building, and I loved the way the color changed. And I have to say, I'm very excited about Leo Baeck. You guys used a photo, Escape from the Heights. That's I did that at 11 years old.
Yeah.
I was really touched. That, you know, the picture of the GW Bridge?
Yeah.
That was mine.
Yeah.
I'd love to get a copy of that again. I have it, but I'd like it with the whole. But I was 11. You know what I mean? Like, there were many people that would say, like, well, what are you becoming? You're so good at math. Why are you becoming an artist? And that was all I was ever interested in. So I don't know him.
Parents knew that right away. That helped.
But I don't think my father was as excited about it. No, he after he died, I saw that every newspaper clipping, everything. He had even more than my mother had. Every clipping, when even they compared other artists to me, my cousin, he had it all. So, you know, it's complicated, but I think my father, he was from a small German town, very different than coming from Frankfurt. With my grandparents Shapiro's, I went to the opera, I went to the ballet, I went to museums all the time. So I don't think my mother's family had any issues. I adored my grandfather Kahn, but I always said to my Uncle Lothar, would Opa have been proud of me as an artist? He said, well, he would have been proud of you that you were a success. Mine, but he always told me that his older brother Arthur, which I'd like you to, if you do anything, you should get the article that my daughter wrote on my uncle Arthur Kahn, who Arthur was the first Jew killed by Hitler in '33. And my father always tells me he was an artist and a medical student. He was at Würzburg University, and he it was either the Sorbonne or Edinburgh. He was going to one of them. Both of them had accepted him for early cancer research. He came back in '33, and he was the first person killed. He happened to have been a great chess player, which I am. He was a wonderful artist, as my father says. And he was the only Jew in his high school, and he was valedictorian. This is right before the war. And my grandfather had won the Iron Cross. Lothar and Herbert, my father's father, had won the Iron Cross in World War I, and they said the fatherland will remember you forever. And then his son is the first Jew killed by Hitler, and then his daughter is exterminated in the camps because she wouldn't leave her son, Natan, my cousin.
Finally, as the tour wound up, we discovered an eerie similarity between the two artists. They each had an uncle in the arts.
We were saying earlier about sort of art and orthodoxy and observance and the kind of more rigid education that he might have received. So his uncle, Ludwig Shabbos, was a very famous and important gallerist.
Oh, of course, that makes sense.
I was sure when you talked about your uncle, I was going to almost interject with the idea that both have an uncle.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
By the way, I'm getting goosebumps as you say that. That is, I'm going to tell you something. You all should know this because I love that. Everyone says about Vincent van Gogh, oh, he must have been brilliant. Must have been brilliant. You know the only reason he's a success? His brother was an art dealer. I don't know if you know, Eva Hess, who I love, was another German Jew from Washington Heights. In fact, when I was a little kid and I wanted to be an artist, everyone said, do you know who Eva Hess is? I gave a lecture in the Hamptons on my favorite artist, and I didn't know that Eva Hess's sister would be there. And I said, when I was a kid, I loved hearing about Eva Hess, or Hessa, as they said. And no, I think it's genetic. I think if somebody has, you don't have to become an artist, but if you have I think it's in the blood. But I want to say something else about orthodoxy that always is hard for me. I went to Karen Biavna and I went to Gush. Both yeshivas I went to, I was given a room to make my art. In the serious Rav Amital, who was a rabbi who I adored, who was an amazing rabbi, and Rabbi Saul Berman, serious scholar. They both came to my studio regularly, and in fact, when they traveled, they'd ask me what museums to go to. And there's a documentary film about Rav Amital, and I'm the only not rabbi in the film. And they asked to film me in my studio because he used to come to my studio all the time. Do I think most people want their kids to be an artist? It's a very hard life, forgetting about anything else. You're only as good as the last thing you do. If you're a great artist, doesn't mean you're going to have major shows. I know, I went to Pratt and I went to Hunter. Not everyone I went to school with that was really talented stayed in the arts. It's a very hard life. If somebody spends, as he did, his whole life making art, that to me is a really important statement. This is all he wanted to do. If you'd ask me, like him, I don't think this is his most Jewish art. Just because it has a menorah in there, I don't think it's the most Jewish. I think his being, I think that image in the front with his hand like that, that is to me about the Shoah. I mean, this is my favorite piece. This is my favorite piece in the show. And Ansel Kiefer, more Ansel Kiefer than Richter, but really Ansel Kiefer. This is so powerful to me. And this is saying, "Mimama kim karatika," from the depth I call out to you. This is really intense, and you should see it in person, and you should see it from an angle. Get to the side, because you see that the metal, the hand is coming up from the side. It has such an intense feeling to it, and I'm sure some of the pieces, I see the holes there, have fallen out, but it doesn't matter. It still has such an intense feeling to it.
And he calls it unknown victim.
So it's the same.
We find out that it is not about the Shoah at all, but about the loss of human life. This animates Tobi even more.
Was there a person underneath there? By the way, that's me. If you'd say to me, you know, do I make work? I'm very committed to Tselem Elokim, which I believe is my German Jewish upbringing. Everyone is God's image. Everyone, I believe, is put on this earth to do something. I've always believed, I say it publicly all the time, I was put on this earth to make art.